All right. Let me close all the windows. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being part of this. I don't know, was it first double digit episode of Funnily Enough, the weekly interview format show that we have with Mavin Magic. And I'm very happy to announce that our guest today is a person coming all the way from Malaysia to join us. I mean, not coming, but she's on Zoom with us from Malaysia. And she happens to be someone I know from the speaking community. She's a professional speaker, she's a trainer, and most recently, a documentary that she produced won the second runners-up award at the Delhi Film Festival. Is that right, Kiran?
Absolutely. Thank you, Sai.
Right. So we're going to talk a lot about Kiran's journey from where she started off to where she is today. She's running a nonprofit called the Give Back to Community nonprofit, which helps educate children and, of course, other activities and allied activities along the same lines of giving back to the community. But we want to talk about her journey in where she's from, where she started to where she is today. But a little bit about yourself. Maybe you'd want to introduce yourself in your own words, Kiran.
Yeah, hi, Sai. And hello to everyone who is joining us virtually and will be watching this show later. My name is Kiran Deep Sandhu. Um, I believe that each one of us has is born because we need to be serving a purpose. And many times we don't find our purpose easily. And I think I was very blessed that I found my purpose quite early as an educator when I started teaching in the university as an English lecturer. And this journey of has evolved in the form of today working as a leadership communication coach through my leadership company called Leadership Card, as well as through my nonprofit, which is called Give Back to Community, where we work with underserved communities and marginalized communities, ensuring that we can bridge that educational gap through technological empowerment. So I would say that I'm an educator at heart, and in every way, I have found ways to serve different communities through education, as well as supporting underserved communities, leadership communities, and now marginalized communities too.
So,
That's a little about me. Yeah.
all right, I'm happy to hear the story, but I'm curious about one thing that you said that you found your purpose. So, what does it feel like? Because many of us are in this place where we have no idea what our purpose looks like. For example, I don't know what my purpose looks like. I'm in my mid 40s. I'm like still like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing in life. So, what does it feel like to know that I have a purpose and this is my purpose in life?
That's what I said, that when I found, no, I remember as a kid, I was trying to figure out that what am I going to be doing? And my dad took me to the Indian embassy in Nepal. I'm from Nepal, actually. And to the counselor to meet them. And they said, okay, so what kind of, what do you want to do in life? And I said, you can become a doctor, you can become an engineer. And they kept on asking me questions. And I said, I really don't know what I want to really do because I'm not good at studies. I mean, I'm a backbencher. I'm getting out below 50 marks in every subject. So, I mean, you're telling me that what can I do? But the only thing that I really truly enjoy is probably, teaching other people what I know.
Hmm.
And maybe I might want to be a teacher. And the counselor shut me down by she said, Kiran, your father owns a school. You are part of the management. How can you be a teacher? And that was, I mean, it was in class 10 and they shut me down. And it just happened that I never thought that I was going to go into becoming an educator. But life happened. I went to Bombay, I studied, and my second major was actually education. And I thought, okay, that's fine. It happened. I'm more interested in other bigger things. And then I went to New Zealand to study. And again, when I moved to Malaysia, I was told I can't do anything, I can't work except in the teaching fraternity because the only job that you're going to get is teaching. And that's where I said, okay, maybe I should just go back to becoming an educator where it started in class 10.
Mhm.
So I enjoyed what I did, and that purpose wasn't really defined initially because it wasn't clear. But I think that over a period of time, what has really happened is what I truly enjoy is being with people,
Mm.
helping them in getting what they want to achieve so that they feel in control of their life. They feel empowered, they're feeling that they can do it all. And that has evolved through all the different initiatives or projects or different roles that I have actually taken over a period of time.
So two follow-up questions. One is, let me ask the second question first. When
Okay.
you said that you have reached a stage where you teach, you basically are there for people to help them achieve
Yeah.
their larger purpose. Clearly, there's a through line between being a teacher, an
Mhm.
educator at a college, to being a training professional now, like your
Yeah.
leadership and
Yeah.
training
Yeah.
professional training, which
Yeah.
is at an individual level, you're doing the same thing. So, did
Mm.
you have any clarity when you were, say, 25 years old? Did you have
Yeah.
thought that, you know what, this is where I'm going to go, or this is
No,
my
no, nobody has that clarity. I think that what I meant by purpose was that my purpose is to serve. Now,
Mm,
that role has just evolved from becoming an educator to a leadership coach to becoming a founder of a nonprofit. That
mm,
is what is it. The purpose is to serve. And I
mm,
think that purpose was instilled in me at a very early age when probably I had seen my parents serving the community. But I never really recognized that that was also probably part of my bigger purpose in life.
right.
And my journey has evolved, but at the end of the day, I recognized that all what I was doing was actually serving people through different mediums.
All right. So this other question I wanted to ask is, why Nepal? And when you were in Nepal and you had your father had a school in Nepal, why did you go to the Indian embassy? What is the connection between Nepal, being a Nepali, I guess, resident, to being going to the Indian embassy for counseling?
Okay, so that I have to take you to the backstory of it. Um, this book, which is called Roads to the Valley, is actually the story of my father, Sardar Pritam Singh, who was the first person who brought transportation to Nepal in 1959. My father is from Jammu Kashmir. And the title is very metaphorical because from the valleys of Kashmir to the valleys of Kathmandu is what the journey took place. And roads to the valley, I have said, because there were no roads. His biggest obstacle, which he faced, was when he reached Patna. And before that, when he had previously gone to Nepal, he had traveled there by train. So when he was asked by the king of Nepal, King Mahendra, to come and bring transportation to Nepal, that was the first time when in 1959 he traveled with 3 trucks by road to Nepal. But when he reached Bihar and he reached Patna, he had this massive Ganges River flowing right in front of him and no bridge to cross this river.
Hmm.
And at that time, he was puzzled and he had this task that how am I going to cross this river? And there was a steamer guy over there and he said, well, we have never taken a truck across. We have to dismantle the entire truck into smaller pieces and we can then load it onto the steamer and then take it across.
Hmm.
So what my father did was that he actually, I hope the picture is there, it's not very clear, but if you can see,
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
they tied up 3 boats with ropes and then put the full body truck on top of it and
Hmm.
they took it across the Ganges River.
I see the
And
yes, I see the try. So these are not like big steamers. These are look like fishermen's boats.
it was fishermen's boats that were used. And this was one of the most ridiculous requests that somebody had done. They said, "Are you crazy? Nobody's ever done this. Taken a boat across. I mean, boats across with a truck." But Papa said, "Well, let's try it," and that's what they did. They actually, and it's Ganga is a fast-flowing river,
Hmm.
so those boats traveled 3 days downstream before they could actually offload those trucks onto the other side in Muzaffarpur.
Hmm.
And that's how the first trucks actually reached Nepal.
So wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack in the story, of course, but I want to start with the king asking Sardar Pritam to come to Nepal to set up the transportation system there. So, was your dad already a well-known, I guess, transporter, or why
Okay,
was
so again, there's a backstory to it, and I will probably take you into that element in a second. So I'll just finish off with the education question and why I went to the Indian Embassy. So as a result, Papa, they brought the trucks into Nepal, and that's when the first time he brought the truck to the Singha Darbar, which is recently, if you saw in the Gen Z revolution, was burned down the parliament. He brought the truck there to meet their transport minister. And the transport minister looked at the truck and he said, Sardarji, very nice bus. At
Mhm.
those days, they did not even know the difference between a truck and a bus.
Right? Hmm.
So, and what Papa said was that in those days, people were so scared of these humongous things, objects on the road. They would not even want to sit on them. But
Mhm.
what happened is slowly they started using those trucks for the Indian government had at one point given of Nepal was experiencing famine. And at that time, 1,000 tons of rice had to be moved from India to Nepal, but nobody to move it.
Mhm.
That's when, again, King Mahendra asked my father that how can we bring rice to Nepal so that the people will not starve from famine.
Right.
So it was from there. He served the community. He helped bring lots more people from Jammu Kashmir to Nepal through the transportation so that they can set up transportation in Nepal.
Mhm.
But over a period of time, my father also realized that he has done by 1970s, I'm not just taking it a little fast forward, that they have done enough for the community in terms of establishing the people of Jammu Kashmir who were also displaced because of the India-Pakistan war in 1947. And there was also internal displacement that had happened, that the living conditions, the terrorism activities had resulted in very poor conditions for people. So there was mass migration, which my father did, helping a lot of Sikh families to come to Nepal to serve the Nepalese community through the transportation sector. So once that had been done and they had established themselves, he also then realized that the other way to serve the community would probably be through education. And that resulted in establishing the first Indian school outside the Indian embassy for the Indian diaspora, which means people who had come from Jammu Kashmir with him and they had no place to study. And
Mhm.
it actually, there's a little story behind it. My cousin brother has very bad eyesight, and he was asked. They went to the Indian embassy. Said, "Can you help us to give him admission?" They said, "No, we don't have any more seats in the Indian embassy." And at that time, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, who was the foreign minister of India in the 70s, was visiting Nepal. And Papa was able to meet Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee at the Indian Embassy, requested for another Indian school for the Indian diaspora because only the diplomatic community was being served at that point. And with permission, special permission, which was given not within the Indian embassy, but for establishing the first Indian school outside the Indian embassy. And
Mhm.
that's where three visionary leaders, my father, Sardar Pritam Singh, and his friends, Mr. Radhesham Saraf, he is the person who owns all the Hyatts in India, and his Mr. Lari, who was also part of the Sheraton Group. They all collaborated, and these three businessmen set up the first Indian school in Nepal. So that's the story of why I'm still Indian. I have maintained my Indian nationality. Even though the king had wanted to give my father Nepalese citizenship, the Indian government at that point asked my father not to give up his Indian citizenship. And my father, till today, is an Indian national.
All right, so that explains why you went to the Indian embassy. But your father looks like he had connections in very high places. Like Atal Bihari Vajpayee was talking to him, the king of Nepal was talking to him, the guy who owns all the Hyatts in India and the guy who owns all the Sheratons in India was working closely with him. So what I know the interview is about you, but maybe a 5 minute, like a 5 second explanation of why your dad is such a high profile person. How does he know all these fancy people? And maybe I should look it up on, is he on a wiki, does he have a Wikipedia page?
You should Google him. When this book, I will bring you to a controversy which was recently created by this book, actually. So when in 2023, the book Roads to the Valley was actually launched by the Prime Minister of Nepal, and the entire cabinet, opposition as well as the ruling party, were at the book launch for his book launch.
Hmm.
And at that book launch, the Prime Minister of Nepal, Mr. Prachand, said a very innocent statement, which was probably taken out of context. Well, he said two things. One, as a child, when he was, the first bus that he traveled on was Sardar Pritam Singh's bus, number one. But the second thing that he said was that this man has made me the prime minister of this country. And that resulted in a diplomatic crisis, because how can an Indian businessman be behind the prime minister of Nepal being selected? And that became a government. Is he a government puppet? And also, if you Googled him, every single controversy, every single newspaper, including the Times of India, the Hindustan Times, had covered this book on who is this businessman who made the prime minister of Nepal. So
Did it help
yes,
with your sales? Did it help your sales that your father was coming?
so this book has been very close, and when it was actually even when this book was even launched, it was with the intention to again serve. So it is on Amazon, but I must say that from the day that every single penny, every single rupee, every single dollar that we have made have gone back into serving the community through education. So every single penny of this book, whether we raised through fundraisers, through book sales, have actually gone back into my nonprofit, helping more children to get education, because that's what my father believes in.
Right. So yeah, so your dad clearly knew a lot of really high, well-known people. So what is his story? Like he's a Kashmiri migrant.
Okay, so yeah, you're coming back to we're from Nepal. Okay, so yeah, my grandfather, again back to a very back story, is that my grandfather worked as a servant in a British person's house.
Hmm.
And we are originally from Punch. Punch
Hmm.
is on the borders of India and Pakistan. And even recently, when we had Operation Sindoor, in fact, Punch, the Gurdwara in Punch was actually, it was attacked, and we did lose even our priest over there. So we are originally from Kashmir, and my grandfather, slowly after working his way as learned how to drive, and he was working for a British officer in the 1920s.
Hmm.
And when he was working for the British officer, I believe at that time the Queen of England was visiting India, and there was a movement by the Sikh agitators that we will not welcome the Queen. And in protest, every Sikh was asked to wear a black colored turban. They wear a turban, he would wear black colored turban. So when he went to work, my grandfather, this British officer asked him to change the color of his turban. And he said, no, he would not. And he said, well, if you're not going to change the color of your turban, then you might as well leave the job. So after that, my grandfather moved to Amritsar, and he took part in five, we call them morchas or agitations. The Chabiyanwala Morcha, which is getting the keys of the Golden Temple back, which is in 1925, around that. And then from there, the train massacre that happened. And there was another one. So he took part in three. So he was a freedom fighter, and he was many times put in prison. In Ambala jail, he was there for many times. So once he got released in the late 1920s and early 1930s, when he moved back to Jammu Kashmir, went back to Jammu, he went to ask for a job from one person, um, Mr. Sardar Uttam Singh. And this man plays a very important role because Sardar Uttam Singh was the only person in Jammu at that time who owned a car and car. So he said, my grandfather went to visit him and he said, I would like to work for you. Can you give me a job? Then Sardar Uttam Singh said that as you have done so much for the Sikh community, don't be a knocker, which means don't be a servant, be
mm,
an owner. Today, I will give you 1,000 rupees and I want you to get a loan to get a truck.
mm,
My grandfather took that loan, got a truck, and started his first transportation company, which was called Public Motor Service in 1930s,
mm,
which turned out to be the first transportation company in Jammu Kashmir. Within 6 months, he had already got enough money to go and pay back his loan. But at
mm,
that time, Sardar Uttam Singh said, I give you more. I have helped you. Now you help others.
mm,
And that has been the founding principle of our family
mm,
that uplift communities. If you have reached a position, you must now support others so that their community can also be lifted. Started with my grandfather, then my father has done it, and now today, through my initiative, I'm also doing the same thing, which is supporting and uplifting community. So when you ask this question, that was my father from a family of transporters. Yes, my father was from a family of transporters. And our family played a very big role even in the 1947 war and the movement of the refugees, movement of the displaced people. And my grandfather, his brother, played a very important role in helping the Maharaja of Punch, Maharaja of Rajouri from different places to actually resettle their people back in Jammu. So that's how the journey actually started for my family.
mm. So imagine that the echoes of 1920 or the 1920s are carrying on in your life today. That's crazy to hear.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right, so this is a great segue into what is also another aspect of your career. You're a trainer, plus you're also running an NGO. And the reason why we are here is basically to celebrate the fact that you won recently. Your efforts, you and your team won a prize at the Delhi Film Festival. So can you tell us a bit about the documentary that won you the prize, and also a little bit about your NGO?
Okay, sure. Um, I will start off, Sai, a little bit about my nonprofit. So my nonprofit is called Give Back to Community. And I am sure by now the viewers and you are able to resonate with that entire concept of why are we working on this Give Back to Community idea. And we work in the sector of education, and we believe that the mission is to bridge the educational gap through technological empowerment. And there is another backstory to what gave birth to an NGO. Why would I don't look like somebody who should be in this position having a nonprofit. I think I'm too young to be, I mean, that's what I think. But there's another intention to it, and I'll share that again later. Um, but we work in the education sector, started with children, and now you know why I'm an educator. It started with my father and how this whole thing is about, giving us back to the community. Um, so recently, last year in 2024, we worked on a short documentary called Kursi, which was the director of this movie is Mr. Advik Arora. Now, Advik had pitched his story to me when he was 16.
Hmm.
And when he shot the film, and today he's 19 years old. So we might say that, Kiran, how could you trust somebody so young? And that's also part of Give Back to Community, that we believe in youth empowerment. There are massive initiatives that we work on. In fact, even there's another project I'll talk about later, which is the jail project, we have a young second-year student from Delhi who has worked as an architect on that entire project of designing the jail project for us. So I'll talk about it later, about the youth initiative. So Advik is the director. He's studying currently in Dubai in Middlesex University. And he talked about should we work on a documentary so that we can share the story of how educational empowerment can bridge the how technology can help, how you are helping educational bridge the educational gap using technology. And I said, let's work on the story. So the story is of a young little boy, and he is part of our initiative, Abhishek Yadav. And Abhishek did lose his father during COVID. And this story is about his dream of becoming an IS officer, which would have probably died because his mother left him, his father died, and he was left with his uncle. In the journey, he became part of GBTC's mentorship program. He joined a school which was under the GBTC Smart Class project. And from there, he joined our mentorship program. And today, Abhishek is in a residential school called Navodaya Vidyalaya, which is a very esteemed government school where his education will be free until class 12 and many opportunities will come. So this particular short story, which is 18 minutes documentary, has been created as a narrative that how technology can empower and accelerate educational opportunities for marginalized and underserved communities. And this is the ethos where education is the right of every child, and we as individuals can play that role in it. So that was the reason why we created this short little documentary. We had submitted at the Ayodhya International Film Festival, where we won the second best story. And recently, it has also been selected and nominated for the Delhi Short Film Festival. So I'm looking forward to that. And soon is also going to be the Jaipur Film Festival. So this is right now doing the film festival circuit. And hopefully, once it does it, we are hoping to work with different OTTs to see how we can bring that message that education is an equalizer and technology is an accelerator. So let's work together to empower more children to have access to this.
So this is probably this child that you're talking about and this use of technology. During the years of COVID, there was a lot of heat about the fact that the urban children have access to online learning and they can just sit at home and use a computer to get an education, but rural kids don't. Now, do you, as part of a nonprofit, face that same issue that people in rural communities, they were willing to learn, but they could not because they could not go to school physically and they had to use mobile phones and they might not even have good data. So what's your experience in that space?
So I tell you that little story that I was telling you, that how did give back to community even give birth? So it takes me to this 2020 when all of us were in lockdown. You probably in Bangalore. I was sitting in Malaysia in my little home. And Malaysia had one of the toughest lockdowns, especially in my city. I mean, I tried one day just to walk outside my door and my gate, and there were cops called on me. So I was in so much turmoil internally. I was away from family, which is my dad, and I'm here. And the only thing that actually I knew was, okay, there's a world. I guess I can't go out. I chose to go in, and I chose to go in into the virtual space. And the only thing that I really knew was teaching. So I said, okay, let me start an online. I joined a speaking community online, and I met a bunch of people who wanted to work on their speaking skills. I said, well, we'll start a class on communication, but in return, I want Guru Dakshina. Guru Dakshina is a token of appreciation for your mentor. And I said, I don't want it for myself. We're all in COVID, and I want you to find somebody near you who needs that 500 rupees, which is equivalent to $5. There were different people who were part of my class, and I didn't know them because we were obviously in different spaces. But one of my students or mentees was Soumitra Dubey. Soumitra is quadriplegic, head down, paralyzed, and he is a teacher working with primary school children in Ayodhya. So when our 4-week program ended, I said, Soumitra, where is my Guru Dakshina? You haven't sent me a video or a picture of what you did with it. And he said, ma'am, I had an old phone which someone had given me. So what I did is, using the 500 rupees, I bought some accessories like headsets and put some apps in it. And I have given that phone to a visually impaired child that I am teaching. And that day, my life just stopped, and it gave me immediate sense of purpose. Because always we think that we need to do big things. We need a lot of money to make impact and change in the community. But I realized that just $5 had transformed the life of Mithlesh. A few days later, I get a call from Mithlesh, who is visually impaired. She says, ma'am, today because of you, I can see the world even though I'm blind. I called her Soumitra and I said, Soumitra, how many more children are you teaching? He said, I have 13 more kids. I said, well, I'm going to coach and I'm going to raise funds. And we are going to help these 14 children who don't have access to technology to go back onto the online classes, to go back to school. And that's what gave birth to GBTC. And that's why it's very fundamental for us that technology is an accelerator. In this world, when we were so disconnected, we were able to join through technology.
So
And,
sorry, go ahead, please go ahead.
No,
So when we think about, I have a 5-year-old, like I mentioned on LinkedIn the other day. We have this fear that technology he's gonna become addicted to technology. He's gonna be like using apps all the time. But these kids you're talking about, the ones who don't have access to technology, they don't have access to education because they don't have access to technology. Do you see them using it? And I don't want to undermine the fact that kids gonna be kids. They will be tempted to go watch YouTube. So do you see them using it the correct way as much? I mean, how committed are they to their learning, these kids that you're talking about?
Okay, so very good question, Sai. That's very important, that as part of our processes that we set up. So what happens is, we have a mentorship program. We have two major programs. One is the mentorship program that every year we take 62 kids who become part of a online offline mentorship program. They belong to class 6 and they're given digital technology. We used to start with smartphones, but now we have moved into giving them educational laptops. These are 62 kids. The second initiative is the smart class, and we'll go to that after COVID, there was, so let me just talk about this particular one. So here, how do we manage these 62 kids and how do they utilize their technology? We have a supercomputer, which means that all these devices are linked to this supercomputer, which means that every day after their online classes, which finish around 7:30, they have another hour to finish their schoolwork or their homework, and 9 o'clock, all computers shut down. And in the morning, they get an hour. And before when they join the classes, these computers are again on. Because what was happening is, these children come from very, very poor families. Their parents are either working in the farms, they are laborers. So when we gave them a phone, many times the parent would take the phone away with them, thinking that I can use the phone instead. Forget about the child misusing it. It was actually being utilized by the parent. So in order to make it only for education purposes, we ensured that each of these phones are linked to a mentor's ID. So every single app that is being downloaded, what they're seeing, their screen time is being monitored, so that immediately the child knows that the purpose is for education. Yes, you may play, you may have certain games which they help with relaxation, but the primary purpose is for them to use that smart device for their educational growth and not to misuse it.
So to understand the setup, so there is So these kids go to a normal, regular school, and then
Absolutely.
on top of that, they have this other technology accelerated learning through your initiatives. Oh, interesting. It's like they do twice the amount of schoolwork per day.
Absolutely. So you see, just like what people do, these competitive exams, you have to go to coaching centers, but kids don't have access to it. Every year, 8,000 seats are given by Navodaya Vidyalaya, and more than half of them are unfilled because children who are deserving don't have that support to actually sit for those exams.
Hmm.
Navodaya in Ayodhya has 80 seats every year. And I must say, last year we were able to bring 16 of our children to qualify and get into Navodaya. Along with that, we got 3 of our kids in the HCL Foundation. We were able to bring in 22 kids into the Atal Avasi school. All these are residential government schools that then take their education to be free from class 6 until class 12.
Mm-hmm.
So the setup is very stringent. So it's what we do is we start off now with a smart school initiative, which means motivated government school teachers and the BSA, which is the Basic Shiksha Adhikari, will partner with us, telling us what are the schools that have not yet got digital technology, because even the government of India is working very hard on bringing digital tech access to these places. So they are working on that, but then not everything can be filled by everyone, so everyone has a role to play. So we work with them, get the list of schools that are interested. Then from there we have stringent interview processes where we understand the requirements, and our biggest criteria is motivated to teachers, because we are into that. Because a teacher can be, when you give someone, they don't appreciate. When someone asks and wants something, they will appreciate it. So we also work on that ownership process, or how you have to take ownership for what you are. So we have the Smart Class project, which works from class 1 until class 5. So that way, these schools which did not have digital technology now have smart classes, smart schools, smart TVs. Children go and learn from there. Then the class 5 kids get vetted and they go into a special accelerated mentorship program, which then helps the most deserving, most meritorious kids to go into this program, from which they get selected into these government schools.
Hmm. Very interesting. So I just want to take a quick break to tell the audience that if you have any thoughts or any questions to ask,
Absolutely.
feel free to do that. This is not just about me asking questions or Sandhu answer,
Yes.
Kiran answering questions. Go ahead. If you have any thoughts to share, please go ahead and do that. And in the interest of keeping the conversation moving, I'm going to ask you about the other initiative which we spoke about yesterday, the one about which helps people in jails get access to books. That sounds really fascinating to me. Could you please tell us more about that?
Okay, so we're very lucky, Sai, that working in the space of education, it's always constantly, you have to keep evolving also. And we've started with young children, which I have shared with you. But again, Somitra, who is a teacher, and he's quadriplegic, as I said, head down paralyzed. He was having difficulty in accessing certain school places because of the rural roads. So his recent posting was in Ayodhya jail, district jail. So when he started teaching over there, the question came that how can we support the inmates and the prisoners in the jail? And that's where the first this is the first initiative in UP, because you must have heard of Tihar Jail, which has done a lot of work for reforming the inmates. Right now in UP, in Ayodhya, this is the first initiative which has been taken. So we have actually, my father was a very generous supporter. So that entire reformatory, which has been constructed inside Ayodhya jail, has been supported by my father in creating a reformatory, which means a smart class, a library space, as well as a counseling section, because we want the youth, again, younger, 18 to 35 year olds who are not there for very severe crimes, to be able to come to the library space and learn digitally our 21st century curriculum, which we have created. And so we work on their counseling over there. But what actually happens is, and like in India, many jails, there's no difference between criminals who are there for murder to people who are there just for petty things. So everybody is clumped in one big space. So it is a very high security jail. Many prisoners are not able to come to the library space because of the kind of crime that they have done. So they might be on life sentence, death penalty, whatever it is. I don't know about the death, yeah, but they are on different crimes. And that's where we started something called the BAG initiative. So BAG initiative is where library bag, where we create these massive bags and we fill bags with like 100 books. And all these books are put outside barracks, which these high level prisoners have access to. Now, they are so bored because they don't know what to do with their time. Eventually, they find time to start reading, taking a look at those books. So what happens is after 15 days, there's a rotation. This bag library will go to the next barrack, from that barrack to the next barrack. So there's a lot of rotation of books. So we are constantly looking for people who can donate books. We are working with the local library, which works with us, with the government body, so that they can keep giving us books so that we can keep changing the books for the prisoners to have access to, again, a way of thinking, a way of learning and being exposed and utilizing their time in the most meaningful way. So
So,
again, education.
so are
Yeah.
these books like life skills books,
So
or
they
are they?
have to be all, they have to be related to spirituality, history, has to be related to religion, like spiritual, because you don't want to give them access to anything like fiction or picture books. A lot of picture books are also utilized over there
Hmm,
because it's the kind we have been given the kind of books that go into the jail.
hmm.
That is also vetted. So everything has to be vetted before it is submitted into the library jail initiative.
So you said that you're looking for help and you get help from the local libraries and the
Yeah, yeah.
people of Ayodhya. So can people from outside Ayodhya, from the broader
Yeah,
community, like India,
absolutely,
can
absolutely. You
they?
can reach out to me or to you, and we definitely we're always, because GBTC is all about education. We are always looking for people who can cheer us, support us, refer us,
Hmm,
because it's not easy working in a non-profit space
hmm,
where people, it's all about trust, and also they're gatekeepers. But nonetheless, it's all about people refer you to someone, and that's how you get your CSR partners. That's how you get to work with organizations. That's how you work with other NGOs or government bodies who support you in reaching the deepest pockets
hmm.
over there.
So we'll put the a way to reach you through in the show notes of this episode.
Absolutely.
But the next question is, what about the government? I mean, there is NGOs that you guys are an NGO. There's also the government, which has a say in how you interact with, say, the prison population or the rural population. How supportive and how, uh, I guess, not corrupt? Maybe I don't know how to phrase it, but how clean is it to interact with the government and the local authorities in these spaces?
I think, Sai, I don't want to get into that conversation because I believe that my journey has been very blissful.
Hmm,
I cannot say for what others have done. I think if your intention is clear and you know what you are trying to achieve and you have the right motive behind it, the right people will reach you, join you, and support you and help you. And
hmm,
I think that is what has happened with me, whether it has been my own leadership team, the teachers, the mentors that work with us, the officers, the government bodies that have reached out to us. Everyone has been working with us in the most transparent way because we are very transparent about how we work.
hmm. That that's heartening to know that if you want to do good, you'll find good people to support you. That's
Absolutely,
basically what you
absolutely,
want to say.
absolutely,
All right, so you
absolutely.
have one more documentary that you're working on that you shared some information about, a documentary which is not exactly education related, but it relates back to your heritage. So you want to tell us about that?
So as I said, it's very all about working with marginalized communities, and I, uh, I as I've shared previously that I am from Jammu Kashmir. We don't call ourselves as refugees. People from within Jammu Kashmir are called displaced people of Jammu Kashmir, because there are two kinds of people who were impacted during the 1947 partition and post. Was that we have people who are from Pakistan occupied Jammu Kashmir, as well as people from within Kashmir who were displaced because of the turmoil, because of the war, because of the post war activities, such as the raiders who had attacked, and especially this particular week, which is October 21 till 29, actually plays a very important role in the history of Jammu Kashmir, because this was the week when the raiders had attacked the entire Punch region. Muzaffarabad, we lost Muzaffarabad in October, not in August or before that. We lost it in October, and this went on until April of 1948. So the purpose of working on this second documentary, which is called Dastak. Now, Dastak has two meanings. One is knocking, and what we are doing is knocking to ask some questions. And it's not a politically motivated documentary. It is not to rile up that, India versus Pakistan. It's none of those kind of things. It's about what is happening today, even today, after 70 years of independence, to those displaced people. We have a lot of conversation about the Kashmiri Pandits, but there are other marginalized communities, such as the Sikh community, such as the Hindu community, and even the Muslim community of Jammu Kashmir, which was displaced within India. And what are we doing even today to resettle them? So this particular documentary is a narrative. I've been very grateful. I was in Kashmir recently, and I was able to meet many of the survivors. And I think it's so important to hear those stories before they're completely lost. I was, in particular, there were two stories I was really looking forward to capturing, and I will hope to capture them in the next time that I'm in Jammu, because I was there during the landslides in September when they were happening, so I wasn't able to access. But one I'll just mention that I was really looking forward to meeting this lady. She was from Muzaffarabad. Muzaffarabad is now in Pakistan occupied Kashmir. And I was told that we have to interview this woman, because when the raiders attacked, she was probably 2 years old. And the father had asked the wife to send one by one the daughters into the room so that he could kill them. So the first daughter went in, she was killed. The second daughter walked in, she was killed. And then this was the youngest little one. And the aunt just pulled her and said, please, I beg you, don't kill her. And this is obviously because of honor killing. It was before someone else takes them away. It was maybe probably because of, conversion, murder, rape, whatever it was. But people were throwing their own daughters, wives into wells which were filled up with bodies. And she was one of them. And the aunt said, I will try to protect her as long as I can. And she was that one survivor from that particular horrific incident that happened in Muzaffarabad. And the day that we were supposed to go meet her on the land, we found out she had just died a few days ago. And we lost that story, although someone else has actually documented it. So there are so many stories of how people suffered, how people and how they've tried to find a new identity, and are they still recognized here as their own people. So this is the entire narrative that we are working on by taking human stories and sharing that these are the realities. Let's hear their voices. Let's give them a place that they feel that this is home.
Hmm. And are you getting the support? Are you finding that there is support for your efforts from the community, from the government?
The community is overwhelmingly supportive, obviously, of Kashmir, Jammu Kashmir. I've met many politicians. I've met people who obviously, when I started, my director said, we're not going to interview any politicians because, we don't want to take a political angle to it. And then we went and met some of them, and we realized that there is two sides of the story, the coin, and you have to be giving an unbiased version of it. So definitely, I haven't yet reached. We're going to start filming from. The shooting is going to start in uh, March 2026. It's only releasing in 2027. We have worked on the first narrative, the first short documentary, which is called Voice of the Voiceless, where the interviews of all these people that we worked with from the Hindu, from the Sikh, from the Muslim communities have been put into short snippets, which will be released, which we are also utilizing it to show as pitch deck to bigger OTTs and distributors who are keen to work with us. So this is something that we are working on.
Uh, I I don't know if you felt the same way, but I was really moved by the story of that you shared.
Okay.
It is a powerful story, and I'm hoping that your story, the documentary you're making, and the story of the people who are displaced internally within India is told to the
Absolutely.
fullest extent
I
possible.
just showed this book, although this is not mine, but this is a book written by Professor Anmol Singh, and it's about duty, integrity, and treachery, and it's about Brigadier Pritam Singh, who was the hero of Poonch. And I believe that with such stories, what I've also recently done is when I went to meet many of these survivors, many of them had actually handwritten their books or written it in Hindi. So, with their permission, I have taken those books and I have sent it to Patiala University for translation into English so that we can reach a broader audience which understands the story, because sometimes linguistic constraints stop people to really know what the real story was.
Right. At this moment, we were supposed to play a game, but we never got to playing a game. We'll leave that. So, if there's any thoughts that the audience wants to share, any questions they have for Kiran, please go ahead, unmute yourself, and jump in, ask the question, share the thought. Tell us your own experiences with technology, with internal displacement, anything. It's all open. Open. The room is open for anyone who has any questions or discussions that you want to have with Kiran.
Our conversations have gone all over.
No, that's the beauty of somebody who believes in what they're doing so much as you, because it's clear that you are there's you have a history, a family history of somebody of giving back to the community, being there for other people, and not just for yourself and your immediate family. That's really inspiring for all of us, and I'm happy that we had this conversation. Plus, you dabbled in teaching, service, documentaries, OTTs, like it's covering a whole range of things. So how do you find the time? Like, let's get back to, and since nobody has any thoughts, any immediate questions to ask, let's get back to, say, maybe talking about how you said we talked about how your father was sort of like I wouldn't say a marginal presence, but a distant presence in your life when you were growing up. Would that be an accurate
Yeah,
sum?
absolutely. But I want to know, very interestingly, Prem had put up the question about shift in paradigm. I would really like to understand so that I could probably add on to that. Prem, if you were able to unmute. I'm sorry, I'll take that in a second, side.
No problem.
If Prem was able to just elaborate on that shift in paradigm.
I,
Okay,
looks like he's there.
there. Yeah. Hi.
Hi, namaste.
Namaste.
So I got so many things on my plate out there, but
Hmm.
I wanted to take a moment here. I want to say that this chat you had with Sai was so interesting, man. it caused a lot of paradigm shift in me. The way you handle the challenges and how you took all the lemons and made them to lemonade. That was the challenge, the interesting part, yeah.
Thank you.
From coming from your ancestors and yourself. Truly, you have been very, very. You have been positioned in such a way that the central thought of looking at challenges and meeting them and finding a way to deal with them. That was very inspiring, yeah, for me.
Thank you so much, Prem. And definitely, what Prem is saying that, how I handle challenges, let me weave that with the story of my father. Now, when today I asked my dad that, Papa, why would you be taking 3 boats down that river? He said I was crazy. I mean, I don't know what was wrong with me that I did it. And so he obviously has been somebody who has been a risk taker, very courageous leader, and someone who has worked with empowering his community. And as a child, when I was growing up, I would say a lot of people have sad stories, but I would say I was a very privileged child to be brought up with a very, maybe some may say a silver spoon, but also a very distant relationship with my parents. And that was because I felt that my parents, both of them, were hardly available. They were always doing something. And all my life, I probably held that grudge that, I that they were never there. And I was this rebel. I mean, I would be failing school, I would be failing college, I would just be, a rebel just to annoy them, probably to get attention from them. So my father also says that I was the most difficult child that he had to deal with. But I would say that COVID may have been a very dark period in many people's life, but I would say that COVID gave me many blessings that I'm grateful for, including the ability, my nonprofit was established in COVID. My leadership company also was established during COVID with my partners virtually. And during COVID, as I couldn't visit my father for 2 years because of the lockdown, I was having a lot of online virtual Zoom meetings with him. And I was like, Papa, tell me, what did you do? And we just started talking, and I started just recording those conversations. And I realized that I actually don't know my father at all. And I started really figuring out that why does he have such an important role in so many people's life? When you said that why he's somebody who is so influential, he's influential because of the impact that he had created in the community that he was serving. So when during the controversy, one of the like that Aaj Tak guys in India, we have one, Arnab had asked, like in Nepal, we have another person. He was like, so Sardarji, how do you know the current Prime Minister of Nepal? And my father very, very calmly said, I know every single king and Prime Minister of Nepal and India at that time since I moved to this country in 1959. Now, that impact or his stories of how he supported people were things that I didn't see from that lens. I only saw him from the lens of a daughter, but I never saw him from the lens of a community leader who was impacting people's life in such profound ways. So I one day asked one of his drivers, I said, I want to understand that you worked as a truck driver in my father's company. How are your children today doctors and engineers studying in America and Australia? I don't understand that. He said, let me tell you something about your mother. I said, well, I wanted to know about my father. He said, your mother was a very visionary leader. She said that, she started something called the we have the kitty parties, but this was in the Gurdwara, which is a religious kitty party. And she would tell the women to put in money so that they would save money from their husbands. I said, okay. And then he said, well, from there, if a person wanted a loan from my father, the wife had to vouch that he was a good human being and was good husband in order for him to get a loan from the company. So the wife had to be the vouch. So that was the woman empowerment part that mom was bringing in. And then in the 1960s itself, your father started, which my father, this person, that your father started saying, you can buy shares in the company. From the money you save, send a portion back to Jammu Kashmir so that you can help them there, but save some money so that you can buy a new truck for yourself. And that's how many of these people who worked for Papa are today owners and transporters and hospital owners around the world, including back in Kashmir, because they were given not only the ability to just lead their families, but to actually uplift themselves by having this system of, shares in the company and building themselves. All this I didn't know until I wrote this book. And I realized that I had been so narrow in the way I saw my parents as only as a daughter who thought they were unavailable, to today seeing them as my mom as a woman who worked for women empowerment and the only woman in the 1960s who was driving a Land Rover and jeans and helping women to, have a say in their household, to my father only supporting those people who did not drink, who were religious, to be able to also uplift them in the ways by having shares in the company if you were a good human being to your family. So I think all these were things that really have evolved me as an individual and how I see my family, how I see myself as an educator, as a founder, as well as someone, as a member of this community to support others.
So you said that you are helping your kids engage with your work. How are you doing that? This is going to be our last question. It's past 9 o'clock.
As I said earlier, we work a lot with youth empowerment. So any people who have children and want to be part of GBTC, they need community hours to reach us. We would be happy to connect you with the kids through virtual platforms also. So the same way, we ask people, how can you help? So as I said, Advik, the director of Kursi, is today 19 years old, and he has now making his second movie with me. Malika, another youth leader, second year architecture student, designed the entire reformatory of Ayodhya Jail. And now my children, whether they are through small social media posts that they create, whether they help in making PowerPoint presentations, during their birthdays, they give their own money so that they can have a meal for the children, so that they know that this is theirs. Not just because the mother is doing it. You have to be involved in the project. And as they can't go to India, we do all these three things virtually for the kids. So it's possible. We have we have youth leaders joining us from America, Australia. A lot of kids actually join us for a lot of the virtual programs that we do for the underserved communities virtually.
Amazing. Kiran, it's 9 o'clock, like I said.
I
And
know.
it's going to be, Shavana's going to start cracking the whip on us. So Rajvin, any thoughts or Prem, any final thoughts? And after which we can start closing down this conversation, this fascinating conversation.
Very fascinating, Kiran. You are somewhat like me. You're my role model. Since you're in Malaysia, we should catch up very, very soon.
Definitely, KL.
You can get my number from Shabana. As regards to this conversation, I'm very, very happy to be associated with you through Mavin platform, and I'm very, very happy that I'm also in this line, and I work with special needs children and I work with. I'm going to get award from the Down Syndrome Association. Although I'm cerebral palsy, yeah, they want to recognize my work under the Senator of Malaysia very, very soon.
Yay.
And I'm very, very happy. I now work with breast cancer NCSM, the Breast Cancer Society of Malaysia.
Wonderful.
So I'm very, 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 very happy our minds can think alike, and hopefully we can do a talk show together
Absolutely. Would
with
love to.
Sai the next time. Thank
Absolutely.
you, and thank you for inspiring me and the rest of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Rajan, for those heartfelt words, and congratulations on soon to receive the award that you're going to get. I'm very happy for you and very proud of the work you're doing in Malaysia. So with that, I think we should wind up this conversation. I know Shabana said that she's not going to be able to contribute towards the end because she's not keeping well as well. But thank you very much, Kiran, and I'll collect all the information from you about how people can help you, how people can reach you, and I'll share that with Shabana so that it can go on the website with the show notes of this interview.